Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tanner's Favorite Things. Today we have a very special unboxing. What, might you ask, is this guitar-shaped box? Well, let's dive in and take a look. So I'll give you a little bit of preview. This is in fact a guitar, and it is New Guitar Day. But this is a guitar that I already own something that looks very similar to it. So we're going to have to do some side-by-side comparisons, but rest assured, both guitars are different builders, different eras, and I would say different company ethos altogether. But what we have here is a well-packed guitar. We have a double box, so let me go ahead and take this out of the second box. Let's get a little bit more light for this unboxing. So this is a case that looks similar to a Fender, but it is not a Fender. It is in fact a G&L. The old Georgian Leo. And we have a beautiful, I don't know if this is Daphne blue or some other blue, but it's a nice blue Telecaster, which in the G&L brand is the Asat Classic. So this is a USA made guitar in the Telecaster shape with double bound body. This is something that you don't see on many Fender USA Telecasters unless you go to the Deluxe version. But picking this up immediately, I noticed that this is a much thinner neck than my other Tellies, so that is something that is unique to G&L. And just this color and the double bound body is very striking. It's also very light. This is probably about 2 pounds lighter than the guitar I'm going to compare this against, and maybe about 1 pound or a half pound lighter than my USA Fender Telecaster. But we've got a 3-ply pick guard, white, black, white, dual single coil pickups, an in-tone bridge by Goto, which is a Japanese brand. Fender style rocker saddles, which I actually prefer individual saddles on a Telecaster, but this is more true to a vintage standard Telecaster spec. One thing you'll also notice is that the switch is slightly out of place. Usually on a Telecaster, the knob and switch are swapped. And of course, there's no binding on most Fender Telecasters. Beautiful figuring in the maple fingerboard. It does in fact look like a one-piece maple neck, where the fingerboard is the same as the neck. A nice bone or synthetic bone nut there. Inside, oh, look at this. We actually have the original Asat Classic saddles and bridge, which I might actually swap out because, like I said, I like the individual saddles, and this Asat Classic one has individual saddles for each string. So I think that this might be a bit of a step down. I'm not sure what went on there, but nice to see that that's there. Other than that, no case candy. Let's take a look at the back. Really nice gloss finish on the back of a neck. I usually don't like a high gloss neck finish, but I gotta say, so far so good on this one. It looks beautiful. Hopefully it plays just as good. Our neck plate just has G&L etched into it, and on the back you can see our 6 fair rules for the string through body. And it looks like, yeah, this is strung up through the string through body. G&L branded tuners and our CLF 079123 serial number, which does in fact make this a USA Asat Classic. It looks like with both of these bridges, you do not have the option to string it through the bridge. It has to go through the body. So this is a mandatory string through situation with both of these bridges. Master tone, master volume knob, pretty standard other than the positioning. Might look a little backwards. Strap locks are G&L branded strap locks, and they are very burly. Seems to be new strings. Let's go ahead, tune it up, see how she sounds. The one complaint that I've found so far in this guitar is this neck pocket has a slight stress fracture right there in the corner. This is pretty common on guitars like this, but just wanted to point that out. Alright, I've got this guitar on a rack side by side with a couple others that I want to compare this one against. Let's first take a look at the Chandler. So this is a Telecaster style body, but it's a company called Chandler. And if you take a look at the back, you can see that Chandler, San Francisco. So we have a Chandler, which is a licensed Telecaster, but it is not a Fender. And next to that, we have an actual Fender Telecaster Deluxe from 2007. This is one of my favorite guitars, and it plays great. It looks great. It's got a small ding on the bottom, but I'm still hoping that can be repaired. This is the Fender Telecaster, the original, And immediately, if we just take a look at the body of this, you can see we have single ply binding. And the binding on this guitar is special in that the Telecaster Standard almost never gets binding. So the Deluxe gets the top bound and not the bottom, but you can see there is a belly carve here as well. So that's why that's not there. On the Chandler, our body is double bound. Take a look, front and back has that binding all the way. So this Chandler is what I would call more similar in construction to this G&L, even though it is using a licensed Fender shape. So let's also take a look at the control panel here. Knob, knob, switch, switch, knob, knob, switch, knob, knob. So it is backwards on the G&L. And if we take a look at the bridges, we do have a really nice Fender bridge with the individual saddles. This one only comes on the Deluxe version, I believe. And our bridge on the Chandler is totally different. This is a Kaler, which requires an additional route. So they actually had to route out a pocket for this Kaler tremolo. And as you might have guessed, it is right out of the 80s. The Kaler tremolo is one of the popular ones, up there with the Floyd Rose. Other than that, our pickguard shape is nearly identical. Nothing really to report there. The Chandler gets a single ply, but the Fender does have a 3-ply. And this is actually an aftermarket pickguard. This usually comes with a pearloid pickguard, but I really like the white. So we've got white, 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 or cream, 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 whatever you want to call it, and 3 different Telecasters. Oh, and the fingerboard we have is maple here, rosewood on the Chandler, and maple on the Fender. You can get rosewood with the Fender as well, but in this instance, as is the case with the G&L, but we have maple for both. Our dot inlays, I believe these are abalone on the Fender Telecaster Deluxe. A nice little speck there. I'm not sure what these dots are, but I would wager that they are plastic. Maybe mother of pearl, but they have almost no shine to them. And then again, probably plastic dots with these black dots from G&L. My other G&L, which is the Fallout from 2014, has pretty jumbo frets. These are a little bigger than some other Telecaster fret wire. Not sure what they are. The Chandler has the kind of medium style, and the Fender has a little bigger than what you would expect to find on a Fender as well. So maybe that's what this is trying to mimic, these kind of more Fender-y frets here. Other than that, the Asat does have its own headstock shape. Try to get it to focus without focusing on the cabs in the back. I know that's a lot of beef in the back, but you can see it's got that little nodule that sticks out there. Whereas on the Chandler, we have a Fender licensed headstock, looks identical to the actual Fender Telecaster headstock shape. So I'm really excited to hear how this guitar compares to the other two. We're probably not going to dig into that comparison in this video. I'll just give you a quick playing demo and call it good and maybe aim for a comparison video down the line. But let's go ahead and plug her in and hear how she sounds. Alright, first impressions. After plugging this thing and playing an E chord, it is light. It almost feels like a toy guitar, but it also feels very high-end as well. So it's not like it's cheap. It's just light. I know a lot of folks associate heavy with good because it's usually a Les Paul and that's a heavy guitar. But the Telecaster, it just doesn't have to be that heavy, I guess. And that's what G&L has come up with here. So today I'm plugging this Asat Classic through my pedal board into channel 2 on the Marshall Plexi 1987X Mark II. That is a 50-watt amp being plugged directly into this Avatar 2x12 cab with 2 Celestion 25-watt greenbacks for a total of 50 watts. Telecaster in the Marshall coming out of greenbacks is such a classic sound. I hope that this guitar nails it. Let's go ahead and find out. Before we find out, let's complete the signal chain. I've got this Sennheiser E906 mic directly on speaker left or right, whichever you want to call it, but it's directly on the speaker grill, and I have an Audio-Technica 4033 SE room condenser mic that is capturing the room. Both of those are plugged into my Focusrite 2i2 third generation interface, and from there into the computer. So we don't have any after effects or post. This is just speaker, cab, and amp and guitar at its finest. So let's hear how it sounds. It's pretty twangy, and I associate lighter guitars with a twangier sound as well, so maybe that contributes. Still very Telecaster-y. If you handed me this guitar and told me it was a Fender, I would believe you. However, this is a G&L made Telecaster shape. Right now I'm in the bridge pickup. We'll hear the neck in a second and the combination of the two, but here's the bridge. must feel a little hot. They're getting some breakup already out of this double patch channel too, but getting a little breakup. Really nice clean sound in the bridge. Here's the neck. The neck, of course, is meant to sound a little warmer, and it does. Just taking a look at the pickup height, these are pretty close to the string, so that might be what's contributing to a little bit more breakup than I'm used to in a Telecaster. So I might just drop those down a little bit to cool them off a bit. So it's a little more breakup-y in the neck position. Let's just hear the middle just for kicks. By the way, the Fender switch tip for the three-way switch is usually garbage. I hate those. They may have been better back in the day, but the last few Fender Telecasters that I've had in my hands have a terribly shot plastic part for this switch tip, and it just comes off and makes me angry. But this one feels, it's a little more solid, but it comes off of it. So anyway, the switch tip is a little more robust here on the G&L. It's taller, and it feels like it's got a better fit, and otherwise the switch is pretty much what I would expect from a Telecaster. Here's the middle position. Nice middle sound, very Telecaster-y. So far, no big surprises out of this. Let's add some pedals and hear how she handles some preamps. First up, I always like to start with the tube screamer, so just add a little bit of gain and boost that channel just a bit. So I'm just going to rock it in the bridge from here on out. I think that that's a better representation of how I would play this guitar, but we'll keep it in the bridge for now. What you hear, though, when I crank this up, that's a huge hiss that I don't get with other guitars. So I'm not sure if that's just the pickup height, if they're just too close to the strings to have some microphonics happening, but that's a bit unacceptable. Let's crank it up. It's about halfway before it starts, and even now it's still... Yeah, that's not going to work. If this is happening with the tube screamer, I can't wait to see what the metal zone does, or rather, I can wait, it's going to be terrible. But let's just kick it into the metal zone here if we can make it work there. Looks like probably not. So far, not so good. If I turn it just a scotch, like a 10. Once I go to 2, it introduces that microphonic hiss, that hum, and it's pretty terrible. Alright, so let's kill that. I'm not going to attribute that to the fact that this guitar is bad. I do think that some guitars pair well with pedals, some pair well with different amps, And I think in this case, we just aren't firing on all cylinders. Let me plug into the orange and see if I can tame this Asat Classic just a bit. Alright, so now we're plugged into the Orange Rocker 30 amp, which is plugged directly into the Mesa Boogie 2x12 cabinet. Those are Mesa Boogie Black Shadow speakers. Otherwise, we have the mic placement the same. The room mic is a little shifted due to the cab placement, but I think it'll capture the room just fine. So here's the orange amp with the Asat Classic in the clean channel. So really nice classic tele cleans. All right, let's go into channel 2 on this Orange Rocker 30 amp. So we're getting that high-pitched scream again, and I'm assuming that that's just meaning we got too much gain coming through here. I'm going to adjust the heights of these pickups and see if we can do better, but I would assume that this guitar was set up to be a clean machine. And although I do love the cleans of a Telecaster, I also love pumping this bridge through a stacked tube amp and double 12 or 4x12 cabinet. All right, let's still crank it up and see if we can get any sounds out of here. So it's pretty good if you don't take your fingers off of the strings, but once you do, you get that high-pitched scream once again. Okay, so we know that the dirty channel on the orange amp does introduce that high-pitched hiss. Let's go ahead and try those same pedals on the orange and see if it tames it just a bit. First, we have the tube screamer. It's a little better, a little better. If I don't keep my hands next to the pickups, it does okay. I think that we could probably chase that hiss out a little bit if we mess with the knobs on the tube screamer, but as is with my normal settings, this is a little too hissy for my taste, but it's usable. Just for kicks, let's hear the Metal Zone. So if you, once again, keep your fingers on the strings, keep it moving, it's not great. Alright, let's return to the realm of reality and hear something that this guitar does very, very well, and that's chorus. Now that's a sound that I can live with. So the chorus preamp does not push us into that hissy, hummy territory. It allows us to add the effect in a very pleasant manner. If we move our switch to the neck, it adds a little bit of flubbiness. I can see how this would be used in certain applications, but it's a little too round for me in most applications. Again, I'll be the first to admit that I like the bridge pickup better on a Telecaster or Tele style guitar, as this is, and this is the same. So once we adjust the height on these pickups, I think I'm going to like this guitar a whole lot more. But my first impressions out of the box with this current setup is that it's a little too clean, a little too hot for me in the clean position, and when you add any amount of gain, it just knocks everything out of whack and sounds bad. Luckily, that's a very easy fix. These screws here adjust the height of the pickup, and these screws here adjust the height of the bridge pickup. And while I'm at it, I might just swap the bridge and tail pieces, I don't know. We'll see. But either way, the first impressions of this guitar are very favorable. I love the feel, I love the look, it's in excellent condition, just a few dings here or there, very livable as far as someone who actually plays their guitar. I think that the maple striping on the neck is beautiful. They chose a very nice wood that has a little bit of bird's eye in it too. I love the lightweight. It really won't break your back playing this night after night if it's strung over your neck or in the sitting position, you name it. It's a very comfortable guitar. It feels very high-end, the finish is very high quality, and that's something that actually G&L is very well known for, is their guitar finishes. They use a lot of high-end auto body paints, and this baby blue is just out of this world. I think the double binding is the coup de grace and makes this the deluxe machine that I think it is. But overall, just a very nice Tele style guitar. So I'm sure you'll see this guitar pop up in reviews down the road, but that's it for now. Hope you guys like this content. If you do, please feel free to like and subscribe. Hope to see you on the next one.